Hey everyone, I wanted to go over the new and exciting news that we got for Monster Hunter Rise on both the Nintendo Switch and on PC, but presumably this is a little bit more aimed towards the PC audience since they are still the ones just starting out to play the game. And that's the fact that the official Twitter account for Monster Hunter Rise in Japan went ahead and revealed that they dropped yet another one of those brand new weapon tutorial videos for the game. So for those people who are choosing to start out, they have a little bit now of an official guide as to how to learn the very basics of each one of the weapons. And today we're taking a closer look at the vigorous, perhaps most powerful weapon in the game, and that would be the Great Sword. And by that I mean just raw power. This thing crushes it when it comes to raw attack damage, but not necessarily all that great when it comes to versatility, which most recent Monster Hunter games have begun to focus more and more of. Basically the agility and the opportunity for you to be able to do different things at any one time. Now in the video itself, they focus very basically on a little bit of the butter combo attacks that you're going to be seeing. Of course, whenever you are unsheathing, your walk animations will be extremely severe and limited as you are carrying a heavy weapon in your hands. So kind of like this heavy bow gun, in the same way, this weapon, the Great Sword, is pretty much just reliant on you having to put it away whenever you want to really traverse an area to be able to catch up to a monster or just get out of the way. That's just kind of like the way it is. They also focus a little bit on the charging, which is again one of the butter kind of experiences for the weapon. You're constantly going to be charging, trying to get the most amount of damage for every single strike, since every single strike is extremely slow. They also showcase a little bit of the blocking as well, which is one of the options you certainly have on the weapon. You don't want to rely on it too much because it's not even as good as sword and shield type blocking. It's just one of those things that in a pinch, in a really bad spot, if you need to make use of it, I think the blocking is certainly an option for sure. Then they go ahead and showcase a little bit of the wire bug, silk bind attacks and stuff like that you are going to need to make use of if you want to be able to stay engaged and close to the monster as best as possible. Now usually the weapon is more for people who want to cause a lot of flinch and stagger knockdowns type of attacks onto enemies, onto the monsters. You are not going to be able to be hitting really fast with this. It's just kind of by nature of it, because every single attack is pretty high damage, so they need to cut that back as best as possible. With the guarding ability, like I mentioned before, you have the opportunity to be able to defend yourself just a little but not a lot, and you're mostly going to be focusing on charge attacks. I don't necessarily think that's changed in the past few games, and I think because the weapon hasn't necessarily evolved as much as other weapons have in the past few recent games. I know they added a few attacks in 3, in 4, maybe even in World. They've added to the repertoire of moves, and certainly with Rise we saw the introduction of silk bind attacks, so those are adding a bunch of new moves to the repertoire. But ultimately the weapon has remained the same. It was one of the very original weapons in the original Monster Hunter game, so it has pretty much stayed the same throughout all this time. And because of that, I think the popularity has been receiving a little bit of a hit. When you look at the numbers of how popular it is, and Rise is very middle of the pack, lower end of the pack. It's a pretty high DPS weapon still, a little bit under the top tier of weapons, but at the end of the day it's not as popular because a lot of people don't use it, only because it's a very technical weapon. It requires you to have a little bit of a know-how, and there's just so many other weapons that are faster, easier to do damage with, and you can get out of a really bad situation way faster with a long sword or dual blades than you can with a great sword. And that's just kind of the nature of it. Even the switch axe at some point overtook it because it's just more versatile. And I think the game has now become more about versatile weapons than officially high hitting damage weapons with limitations. Even as vigorous as it is, as high damage and potent that it is, it's just kind of limited by that same nature. Hopefully they can tweak it when it comes to Sunbreak so all weapons could be paired, but that's always a pipe dream, is usually never a reality. But that's about all the information that I wanted to go over. I'm going to be leaving a link in the description below for you guys to check out the official Monster Hunter tutorial video for this weapon. And I'm glad that they're doing this, even if it took them almost over a year to finally get to some weapon tutorials for those new people who are choosing to start out, which is why I said at the beginning of the game, this is mostly, I think, aimed for PC players who need the help, whereas Switch players have had, these weapons for a while now. They're not necessarily, learning anything new. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.